Kaya siya, yo gui tlanugwa, gya tlanugwa, trasnulu, nugwa Heiltsuk. Walagam nugwas kaya si hotla, masquim, wachaw, yaux kankant, gatu igya, lachtamaux gukla, ugwakanugwa kaya si hotla, malakius kant, schoolmasintla, Akyam Bayanese in Digitization. Gayasi Chotla Larry Grant can eich wash the maux do tlislayox and kuklayo. Uguakanu gwa Gayasi Chotla Sarah Dupont can okwaux homantla peep kwala kuklayo. Gayasi Chotla Agyam Agwa Eka Okwaux Kakawata Kspkwalayu Kuklayo. Good morning. My name is Rory Housty. My traditional name is Gui, and I come from the Heiltsuk Nation from Bella Bella. And I've come today to speak about our Indigitization project, but I guess I will first translate what I had said. I'd just like to acknowledge the Musqueam Nation for allowing us to gather on your land today. I'd like to thank Larry Grant for your great words this morning and for welcoming us into your territory. I'd like to thank Jerry for everything that for all his support in our Indigitization project. And I'd also like to thank Sarah for asking me to come and speak today. And we started the Indigitization project, I believe, back in 2012. And it was a pilot project, and we had our training up in our little office up in the Cultural Education Center in Bella Bella. And there was two of us that did the training, and Terry Ivan Reed was the other person, and I believe that he was part of the Indigitization program through the Uikinu this past year. But in the Cultural Center, we actually have over 2,000 cassette tapes, and approximately 336 of them contain our Heiltsuk language, and these tapes have been our priority. The language, the tapes include language such as autobiographies, which in the 1970s, our chief counselor at the time thought it would be a great idea to get the stories of the elders at that time. So in the 70s, the elders that were born in the late 1890s and early 1900s were interviewed about their life growing up, what they saw, how they went out into the land and gathered their traditional foods and everything like that. So we're really fortunate to have that materials, and we have different word lists that have been compiled. We have workbooks that have been made with conversational Heiltsuk that were a little pamphlet, and you'd listen on a cassette tape. And we also have from lots of different potlatch and feast recordings. In the 80s, there was one person that was just sat there and recorded everything that was spoken at the feasts and potlatches. And we also have a lot of the elders meetings in the 70s. The elders, they were called the Heiltsuk group, or the Heiltsuk Society, and they would gather once or twice a month and talk about different issues or whatnot, and some of them would tell stories, and place names were a big thing for them. So during the times, they would sit around a round table and they would have a big map, and the facilitator would ask them, and they would just go around the map like they were on the boat talking about each place, and you would have the number and write it down. And so the Indigitization has really helped personally for me. Since I moved home, I started learning our language, and the Indigitization is such a great tool to be able to convert these cassette tapes into a digital format, so we could all, have them on our phone or iPad, so we could sit and listen. And right now we're in a spot where we can PDF some of the transcripts. I was talking to you about the autobiographies, and we were fortunate enough to have a linguist come in the 70s, and there were 2 elders that survived his orthography course, and but one of the elders, she was able to write the language as you would in English. She was so quick, and she got so mad when he switched the orthography again, giving it the lambda symbols and stuff like that. But she was really good at transcribing these, so we have multiple pages of these autobiographies that are able to be put on tablets or whatnot for the great-grandchildren and the grandchildren of these elders that spoke. And it's also helped, as many of you know, there are different parts of the language. You have your daily conversational language, you have your potlatch and your feast language, and you even have a different way you speak when you tell stories. So it's really beneficial to be able to listen to those elders and hear where they're putting emphasis on certain words and that. And personally, for my family, in the 1980s, we had the potlatch was recorded on about 4 or 5 cassette tapes, and it was my great-grandfather George Housty's inaugural potlatch. And back in 1987, I actually wasn't even born yet, but so we had those recordings, and my grandfather was part Kwagyu. His grandfather was half Heiltsuk and half Kwagyu, and that was something that we had researched for many years. And before he passed, we finally were able to make those connections to show him how we're related to those Kwagyu representatives that came up. And they didn't come up just because they came up, because they were closely related to him. And in digitizing these cassette tapes, myself and my cousin were able to listen and hear the words of all the people, and able to connect with the next generation of those Kwakwakiwak representatives that came up in the 80s. We reached out to their descendants, and it came full circle, and they came up when we did a memorial potlatch for my grandfather last year in October. And so that was one way that it really came full circle, and we were able to make those connections. And as for next steps, I know that a lot of our people in our nation really are adamant about having some sort of a language app. And we have all the materials. It's just now a matter of finding a proper program and whatnot, and getting all our ducks in a row, I guess I can say. But some other things that have come out of the Indigitization that I've personally worked on is, like I mentioned before, the place names. We have our elders talking about different place names within our traditional territory, so we're able to listen to those. And then through our GIS department, we're able to pinpoint those and make place name maps, so we can have maps that show our Heiltsuk names instead of all the white man names that are assigned to some of our traditional territory. And another important thing about this, in my opinion, for the Indigitization is it really will help give Heiltsuk back their voices. And I mean that in the sense of when some of the researchers came through, for example, Michael Harkin, if you read his book, The Heiltsuks, you might just toss it, because it's the language is way up here, and it's just frustrating, because it's in his point of view, and he has these wonderful audio recordings of interviews that he did with our elders, but he didn't really seem to use them to the great extent that he could have and should have. So we have those interviews that are ready to that have been digitized, and we're currently working on transcripts so we could get them out to the family so they could review them and say yes, these are okay, and then they could be for the Heiltsuk general use within our community. And then issues, there hasn't been really all that much issues. I know that for the first time around, after Terry's funding ran out and then there was just me, well, it was just hard to be able to get away from my workstation because I have to, help the community that want to come into the cultural center. So not having a full-time digitization tech will really slow down the process. I believe that we have digitized 150 to 200 hours or so, maybe more. We've also started to digitize community members' cassette tapes where they have some of their elders or grandparents speaking, or another really popular one is the recordings that they did in the church with the gospel singing, and some of them are gospel in our Heiltsuk tongue as well. So, and as of right now, we don't charge the community. I just ask them to bring in a CD or a flash drive, and then so they're pretty happy with that to be able to preserve their tapes that way as well. And one of my, it's not really an issue, but I was really getting frustrated when you have a 45-minute tape, say, and you sit down and 5 minutes in, it goes blank and you have 40 minutes of blank and you just have to sit there. So I'd say have a book or something so you could read. You're getting right into the great information and then just nothing for 40 minutes. So that was one of the bigger, the most frustrating parts for me, was just having to sit there and wait for the tape to finish running through the digitization. But that's just me wanting to keep digitizing more and whatnot. And but it's been great to be able to sit and listen, and for me especially, because I'm hearing my great-grandfather's mothers, both sides. There's recordings of them telling stories and whatnot. So it's been really eye-opening for me, and I'm really grateful to the In Digitization project and for all their guidance. And yeah, I guess I think I'm done talking now. Kaya siya was kaya siya okwaks kakawata. Thank you for listening to me today.